Alright, hello, welcome back to Uncharted Lost Legacy. Ooh, I found the elephant.
Give me a second.
But I'm
Walking
going
right?
up there, okay. Everything's backwards, so I'm a little, turned around here. Just have to try to remember how to get up. It's gotta be this way somewhere, right? Across the bridge? It'll come to me. Anyway, cultural appropriations, and specifically the clothing that people wear, is what we are going to be focusing on today. And that seems to be a major focus of cultural appropriation, is when we appropriate the clothing of other people, and whether it's appropriate for us to wear these sort of clothing, these sort of things or not. And generally speaking, that seems to be the primary focus of cultural appropriation. This is a little odd for me. When I was in the 5th grade, we did a report on different countries, and one of the things we were encouraged to do was wear clothing that was similar to what was worn in these different countries. I was fortunate in this report. Okay, get in there. Okay.
Okay.
In that, my uncle had recently returned from Hong Kong, so I actually was able to get an actual Hong Kong clothing to wear. And my uncle had actually lived in Hong Kong, not just visited. So it was a pretty cool thing for me to do, to wear actual clothing from Hong Kong, and to be able to go through and
Up. We go up.
excuse me, present this report. And I wasn't the only one who okay, I'm gonna get shot at soon, so
Nice to be out of that shithole finally.
yeah, somebody said a naughty word. So yeah, and I wasn't the only kid there who was dressed in kind of the native costume, or the traditional costume. It's gotta be me, because I keep aiming right at somebody, and it says I'm supposed to hit them, but then it doesn't. Okay, gonna head on up. So, there we go, got him, I think.
That's it. We're clear.
Huh, scary.
Can't be helped. Come on.
So, like I said, it was encouraged actually to wear the clothing of the culture we were reporting on. That having been said, oh, where's that guy gonna come up? Well, that's his helmet gone. It's just interesting that it is now considered to be so inappropriate to wear clothing that are...
There was a big truck.
Wait, where am I supposed to go to get up? Okay.
Keep our eyes open.
Everything's reversed. It's scary.
We'd walk right
It's just very interesting that it would be such a focal point when, for certainly my childhood, it was considered to be a very appropriate way to relate to a different culture, would be to find out what they normally dress as, what they normally wear, and to wear those sort of clothing. Now, as you can see, Chloe's looking a little bit different in this video. I have her dressed up in the pirate outfit, which includes, as you can see, a lovely sword you can't use, and a hook for a hand, which actually doesn't inhibit her at all. So there's like that. But, you know, it has me wondering about video games. And really, is it appropriate that she wear a pirate outfit? Well, kind of is. She does kind of behave like a pirate, but she is not a pirate, so could technically be considered to be appropriating the pirate mantle. Now, here, let me go into these skins. So Chloe has a couple of different outfits. This is the Western one. Now this one, I'm going to go ahead and equip this here. It'll take a moment for it to come up. This one is interesting because she states this is a Western. This is kind of cowboyish. Western, American Western, I should say. she states early on that she has never been to the United States, and she has no desire to go to the United States. So this is definitely, she's appropriating that United States culture, just to look like a cowgirl there. And this isn't the only one. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I would probably be showing you, except I'm having technical difficulties with that particular game. Ugh, such a fun game, too. There's an outfit for Evie that is worn by a female assassin.
See that?
Who is from China.
Let's find a way up.
It's literally, you know, a Chinese outfit that she's wearing, which is kind of reminiscent of me personally wearing the Hong Kong outfit when I was a kid.
Follow me.
Okay. Whew. Barely made that jump. Scary. So, you know, it's interesting that these characters... I just find it interesting that they have it so open in video games that characters are wearing clothing that would not typically be considered to be culturally appropriate nowadays. But
All friends up ahead. They don't know we're here. Good now.
okay, seriously, I hit that guy like 4 times. I think it's the auto-aiming thing going on there. Oh. So. Anyway. You know, and actually, I'm all for, video game characters being able to dress however they want to. I'm in favor of that. Although I get the feeling it's gonna become a talking point. How do I keep missing these guys? I think it's a pirate thing. Actually, I'm dressed as a cowboy, so it can't be the pirate thing.
All right. Are we clear?
Huh. Interesting.
We're clear.
I don't know why I keep
Good.
missing.
Good to be
Maybe it's the
clear.
mirror
Let's
world
press
thing.
on. Just what I was going to say.
I'm just aiming incorrectly somehow because everything's reversed. Ah, regardless. So, yeah, it's interesting that you see essentially cultural appropriation in video games in the costumes and clothing that they wear. Now, I'm completely lost, so I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. Ooh, here it is. So,
Here we go.
but it is an interesting point that clothing is now being dictated, at least in regards to cultural appropriation. And I find this concerning, because, well, like I said, I have, well, yeah, we'll ignore what I've already said, but I find it concerning because I have a vague feeling that if this philosophy continues the way it is going,
Figured you'd want to take the easy
that
way over.
eventually I'm going to go into a store, see a shirt, and say, oh, that's a cool shirt, buy it, and then suddenly I'm going to get into trouble with somebody because it's not the most appropriate. I'll be accused of cultural appropriation because some shirt will turn out to have been
Fine. Just don't get started.
part of a
without me.
different culture, and me being the, you know, fairly ignorant human being that I am, won't even realize it.
Okay, I guess this isn't the way in.
Trying to remember. Ah, here we go.
There you are. Having
So,
fun. Just like the
and to a
monkey
certain
bars in
extent,
rugby.
this has actually happened
I'd
a
say this
bit
looks safer
to me
than the
already.
playground at my school.
I have actually a pretty cool shirt. It's
Nearly there.
for those of you familiar with it, it's a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon shirt, which has a rainbow on
You're
it,
impressed.
but it's
Let's get this done.
combined with the character of Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony, and it's actually a pretty cool shirt because it's like My Little Pony and Pink Floyd all mixed together.
Bow this time. Good guess.
Actually, I'm trying to remember how to do this. So, is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Oh, this one's a bit trickier.
So, is that right? So it's a pretty cool shirt, is all I'm saying. But I've been informed by people that, you know, rainbows are specific to homosexual and homosexual supporters, and that if I'm not actively supporting
What's to say it's so different this
homosexual cause,
What if
or
it's
if I'm not
fine?
homosexual myself, which I'm
You're
not,
messing with me.
then
Messing with you?
yeah, I shouldn't be wearing a shirt with a rainbow on it, which is, you know, a little disturbing because, you know, I'm
Here we go.
you know, I'm not homosexual, but I like rainbows. So,
I'm a little disappointed it wasn't
like I
fine.
said, it does make for an interesting
Another waterfall.
little moment where
3 now.
I'm not supposed to wear a certain type of clothing
Also
because
another
of
absurd
what I
amount of drop
am,
behind
which
the tusk.
The tusk was
apparently I have no
the
control
symbol
over.
of Hoysala dominance,
So,
representing their wealth and their might.
A nice
now
trophy
I've
for
got,
the Persians.
that's pretty much
Yeah.
what I want to say about this,
I'm
about the
glad I always
costumes and
thought
so
that the
on.
tusk was
Why it's a little bit
something even
disturbing to
greater
me
What?
that we can't wear the costumes that
Your
we
dad
want to
was after
wear.
the tusk?
Oh, my dad was obsessed with it.
That having been said,
Day and night.
I actually
researching it.
came across a news report
All our money. Wasted
today, actually, so
on
it's added to this
Heard that one
conversation here,
before.
where
So what came of it?
a man has
I don't know.
identifies himself as a woman, which, okay,
Well, he
that's
said
fairly
when my mum
typical, but
away,
he
my
also
dad was no
identifies
longer
himself
safe.
as Filipino, which
Going off to
he
Australia,
was
remember?
not born Filipino. Now, this is really kind of
here I
raises a lot of
stand
interesting questions with
on the
cultural
outskirts of
appropriations.
Hallelujah.
Because for the most part, people are supportive of this and saying like, okay, if he wants to identify himself as this race,
funny.
that's fine.
Last stop.
But
The fort
you know,
embedded in that
would that be
mountain.
considered cultural
That'll be the
appropriation
one
or
with the
not?
axe.
I'm guessing offhand, probably not. But you know, does that mean
At least
I
your accent
can,
makes sense now.
you know,
Yeah.
where
Fraser's not exactly an Indian
say
singer,
if I'm,
It was my mum's.
I could possibly identify myself as
Let's find a way to get back down to the car.
ancient Egyptian,
good.
and would that then make it appropriate for me to dress up as Bayek if I were to identify myself as ancient Egyptian? And then that raises even more questions about
This is open now.
is it okay to darken my skin if I identify myself as a race with a darker skin color than my own, or even if it's just a different skin color than my own. Phew. Yeah, I'm gonna get myself hurt one of these days with this rope if I haven't already. I'm pretty sure I already have done that. And so, like I said, it's an interesting question. At which point will this become cultural appropriation by dressing up as, or if I identify as a different race? Say, if I were to personally identify myself, yeah, well, we'll go with Asian. Is it okay if I,
Makes more
you know,
sense why
dress
Saul's after the tusk
wearing
now.
Asian clothing?
Figured he just
Is it
wanted the
okay
money,
if I
like us.
He'll use it to rally
use
people
makeup
to
to darken my
his
skin?
cause, wave
That
it
would
in
probably be
respect,
taking it too far, but what if I were
just
to
like all the other
use some
times.
sort of
This has happened before?
surgery to dye
Oh,
my
yeah.
skin, or
Ever since the young
even
king lost his
tattoo
version.
my skin a darker color?
Everyone's wanted to
Would
lay
that
claim
then be
to it,
considered
to
to
this
be
land.
cultural appropriation,
Here I thought
or
we were just going on a treasure
not?
hunt.
We are.
Excuse me,
Let
not.
men like Assad fight over it. It's
So-
none of our concern.
Like I said,
Parking
this
laws was
does
my
raise
concern
some very
Good point.
interesting
But you
questions
did it
about
for
cultural
cash.
appropriation,
Usually.
as opposed to just
What about when you
normal,
worked for Assad?
not appropriation, but
Definitely
normal
a cash grab.
identifying myself
Parking
as a
with the
different
trouble.
race or a different
Ouch.
culture.
Why do it then?
So that's.
Needed to establish my
I'm simply raising the
Pick it up,
questions.
stop
I'm
the
not
rest of the
making
bunch.
any statements one
No
way
way
or
to
the
go
other
but up after
in
that.
regards to that. And there was a second interesting point I came across, which, while it seems to be almost universal that using makeup to change the color of your skin is
Beautiful out here.
Is this your first visit to India?
appropriate,
Yeah.
Not a lot of perks in this line of work.
one
but
of the
travel
things
is
that
definitely
I've
one of them.
come
Where have you
across
been?
is an actual
where haven't I
exception
been?
where it's
civic
generally
wish
considered to be
works for you?
appropriate
Well, I haven't
to
been
change the color of
States.
your skin.
Really?
Um,
Yeah, well, the stuff
and
I'm
in this
looking for
case,
is usually old,
it's not
right?
for the
US was only
purposes
founded a
of
couple of hundred years ago.
being
True.
respectful to this
What about you?
different
Where do you
culture,
want to go?
but for the
Iceland?
purposes of
Nice choice. Beautiful there.
making
Well, it's
actually
quiet.
making fun of
I'm
someone,
spoiled.
and that's they actually
I don't
sell
want to see
makeup
those northern lights.
that
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
fun of
Shit. This site's
where you can take on the skin color of the current president, Donald Trump, and essentially to the main purpose is they almost pretty much state that the main purpose is to make fun of him, which I find really, really fascinating. Now, if I were to do the same thing with, you know, color my skin so I could dress up as, say, Barack Obama, even if my intention was actually to be respectful to the former president, that would be considered to be very, very inappropriate for me to have done that, to do that. Whereas, I'm actually going to get the little thing here. Whereas it's somehow, okay, let's back up a bit, because I can't seem to get to the, right, okay. Whereas,
Once more, with gusto.
it's okay to dress up as a current president with the intention of, making fun of him. Now, you can usually say, well, they're not the same person,
Okay.
which is very true. They have very different approaches, very different policies concerning, well, you know, political policies, very different approaches. You know, they're drastically different men. That having been said, they both have the same station. They're both president of the United States, or at least one used to be and one currently is. And for me, it's almost incomprehensible that you would... It seems... Let me rephrase that. It seems to make more sense to respect the office of the presidency, even if you don't agree with the person who is
Salah versus
president.
Doesn't seem like a fair
Um,
fight.
Salah won, actually.
Even if
He was protecting his guru and killed the animal in one blow.
even if you don't agree
where
with
the name
them,
Hoysala
you should
comes
still
from, Hoy
respect the
in
position,
Strike,
which
in
is
their language.
something I was actually taught from an early age.
There'll be a
Ever
quiz
since I
later.
was a, you know, young kid. It's, you know, be respectful to other people. If somebody's achieved a position, regardless of how you feel about them, well, be respectful towards them and their position. So, like I said, it's a lot of this stuff I find to be immensely
Water's
confusing about cultural appropriation,
fine.
and it,
Drink it.
thus far it raises far more questions than are answered by this philosophy raises far more questions, like I said, than it does answers. Ooh, it's actually quite pretty over here. So really that's all for the current oh, sweet air. Like I said, that's all for the current look at cultural appropriation. Tune in next time, and we will finish our discussion on cultural appropriation. Until then, like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about my comments, my viewpoints, and so on, and how I'm stating the philosophy. And yep, I will see you in the next video.
Bit hard
Bye.
on the wrist.